Hey everyone, this is Cam. Just going to make a little video to show you how I've been using a Python script that I wrote with ChatGPT that enables me to automatically get sentiment checks for my checklist. Basically, I can just set it to run, go away, have a coffee, do other work for an hour or two, and then it just runs it all, and I can plug it into my spreadsheet. So um, you'll be able to modify this for yourself, even if you don't know any coding, as I don't. If you have access to ChatGPT 4, you should be able to throw my script in, which I will share with you, and ask it to help you rewrite it for your own environment, whether it's Windows or Mac. It shouldn't really matter. So I won't go through the checklist process because I assume you know that. But of course, we get to the point. I'm using the AF model here, as you see. Get to the point where you have your sort of preliminary list in the manual data. Now, I need to do a sentiment check on these. So what I do is I grab the stock codes that I want to do sentiment checks on, and I'll go down to sort of zero point zero 0.06 is normally where I do my cutoff before sentiment checks. And then I'm going to go over to Google Sheets. So the way I have it set up is I have a basic Google Sheet, and I'll just paste the codes in here under code. You can see there's some other columns here. This is what the script is going to complete. So it's going to tell me the current price of that stock, whether or not it's above the buy line, and whether or not it's above the 2BL line. It's going to figure that out by using the Bredolator. Now, this is my own copy. I have several copies of the Bredolator. This one is designed for the ASX. I have other ones at the moment that I'm using for the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange for the American checklist that I've been working on using Stockopedia as my data source. Happy to say that I now have 16 stocks in that portfolio, which I can now start to track and see how they perform. Anyway, that's another story. So once I've done this, basically I'm going to open my code. Now, I'll show you what the code looks like. This is, for those of you who aren't coders, this is just some Python code. And the reason you'll have to customize it for your own environment is it has the URLs for my Google Sheets here, the one that has the list of stocks and the one that is the Bredolator, which I call the check sheet. It also, in order to allow the code to operate with Google Sheets, you need to go into your Google Sheet share settings, and you need to share it with not Alex, but with Python. So there's a process that, again, GPT will be able to walk you through about how you create what's called a JSON, a JSON file that you basically get from Google. You install it on your computer, and it just basically lets Google Sheets know that you have authority. The script has authority to access this sheet. The other thing in this script that I just came up with in the last week or so, which I think is really cool, is this part here, which is notification. So it uses a service called ifttt.com, if then then that, which has been around for a long time. It's basically a system that basically enables lots of different applications to communicate with each other in sort of a drag and drop environment. So the reason I set this up recently is this script, when I run it on Google Sheets, because there's a couple of hundred stocks here that, well, actually this morning there's only 84 for some reason, but when the one I ran last night had a couple of hundred. I think I filtered that list I just showed you. I'd filtered out the sentiment ones, the negative sentiment. But when there's a couple of hundred stocks in there, this can take an hour to 2 hours to run, because as we know, Google Finance and the Bredolator is not exactly fast. It takes 5 seconds or whatever every time you put a new stock in for it to pull down the data. So I've deliberately set the script up so it runs slowly, doesn't overload Google Finance. But what I found was happening over the last couple of weeks is sometimes the script could take a couple of hours to complete, and sometimes I run it at night, and then I have a freshly updated checklist for the next morning, and I'd be going back and checking it. Is it done yet? Is it done yet? And sometimes it'll fail halfway through for a variety of reasons. And I would go back, the next morning and find that it had failed halfway through, and I needed to run the second half of it, which is annoying. So I used GPT again to get it to help me set up this notification system. Now, if the script either successfully completes or fails, either way, I get a notification sent through to my iPhone and my Apple Watch that tells me what's just happened. It tells me the name of the script and what's just happened, whether it's succeeded or it failed. If I get the message that it failed, I know I need to go in and fix it and restart it. So I'm pretty happy with that. Another thing that the script does here is it has a debug output file. So if something goes wrong, it lists the error message to a debug file, so I can go and see what happened, what caused the failure. I haven't had a failure lately, but this did happen in the early days of sort of getting the scripting right. So anyway, I run the script. So on a Mac, I do that in terminal window, and I'm not exactly sure how you do that in in Windows, but you can ask GPT how to do it. So I just tell, oh, that didn't work, bugger. Okay, let me try that cut and paste again. Okay, I've got my scripts saved in this little thing here on my Mac. So I'm going to just tell the script to run. Boom. So it's now running, and we can see here, so the first doc is VUK. If I go over to the Breadilator, you should see that it will start to check the Breadilator, the VUK. There you go. It's looking up VUK. It's downloading. It's getting the prices. If I click over to the other Google Sheet, you'll see eventually it will start to populate that. There you go. Row 3 is being populated. Now it's going to move over to Byron Energy, BYE. It's looking that one up. And you'll see it'll start to plug in the data in Byron Energy. And sometimes you might want to spot check the results at the end. It says it's 10 cents, yes. Okay, I was too slow. But what I did run this a couple of weeks ago, and there were some errors in it, so I've taken to spot checking it when it's completed, just to make sure that nothing went awry. OMH 48 cents, and it's below its 2BL. So there you go, 48 cents below the 2BL and below the byline. So it seems to be working right. I've also got this set up so it tells me when it was last updated, the date and time, so I can check it later on. So that's basically it. I'll just let this run now. Well, I won't now because I've already done one, but I would just let it run for a couple of hours. I get a notification when it finishes, and then I can grab this data, copy it again, and I just plug it into this tab in my Excel sheet. I just paste it in, and then I've got some code in Excel that you can see up here just does a VLOOKUP of that sentiment tab and will tell me, what the status of it is. And so this column I, just gets automatically updated with the latest sentiment data. And I can filter on that. You see, I've already filtered that last night. So it's relatively simple. Honestly, I've probably spent a few hours building this and debugging it over the last month or so. But now that it's running, it just saves me an hour or two depending on how many stocks you want to check the sentiment for. It just does it automatically in the background. So I'll upload all of the bits and pieces for this with this blog post that you can download. And then, by the way, if you haven't used GPT, so this is what ChatGPT 4 looks like. And, what you can do is just grab the code that I'll share with you in a file. And just to show you how this works, you can say, explain this code to me. What is it doing? And paste in the code. and ChatGPT will basically break it down, explain it to you. Um, it's analyzing that code, explaining all the different components, and you can just then ask it to update it for your machine. What would I need to do? Well, I'll stop this. What would I need to do to customize this for my computer? To customize and run the script on your computer, you'll need to follow these steps. Ensure you have Python installed. Yeah, that's something that I forgot. You'll need to have Python installed. If you don't know how to do that, just ask it, how do I install Python? And it'll walk you through the process. I had to do that. It'll tell you how to get Google Sheets API access. There's a few things you need to do here. But again, the great thing about GPT is you just ask it, well, explain to me, how do I do that? It'll walk you through it. It'll hold your hand. How would I run this on a Windows computer? There you go. Install Python, go to python.org, download it. So look, if you've never done any coding before, this can be a little bit scary. But, as I've been saying on the futuristic podcast recently, we all need to start to think like coders now, because we can all be coders. GPT will teach you how to be a coder. It'll help you become a coder. And with a little bit of effort, it's a bit like learning how to do the checklist, right? With a little bit of effort, we can all be coders. And GPT will walk you through it, as I keep saying, and hold your hand. So anyway, that's probably enough for now. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email. Good luck. Let me know how you go. Hope it saves you some time and effort.